Cool, started recording. So this is the NWC show. This is episode 3, and we're joined with FazzasThoughts. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name's Fazza. FazzasThoughts on Twitter. I'm the co-owner, co-host, editor, and distributor of It's Our House Pod. We're on YouTube and all podcast platforms. We talk about same thing, kind of you talk about wrestling. But we want to branch out and do, as much as we can, really. We've got some cosplayers coming on. We've got some comedians coming on, like we've already had Billy Kirkwood. But primarily, as you can tell from the logo in the back there, we are a wrestling interview channel. But we just shoot the shit, really. Just talk about anything.
It's the exact same as me, man. I have another channel where I reach out to like people in like the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
But that's on hold just now. But I don't like the format of like these are the questions and answer them.
Yeah.
I forget the questions straight away. I forget everything that happens. So
well, I know obviously because we have got our producer Stu Lawson, slawson1417 on Twitter, and the other co-host Chris Dees, who does all the questions and stuff for us. So we have a bit of a layout and schedule. But when you reach out to a lot of these wrestlers and stuff, they want the questions in advance, just so they're not getting sideswiped with anything dodgy during the interview.
Yeah, that's how. Like I said, you guys, I've got Stuart coming on Tuesday, I think.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's Tuesday. I send the questions out, but I'm like, I'm going to go on a tangent, so don't take these as like gospel, because I will start talking about random stuff. Depends how my day is going. So we'll follow the list, kinda. So what got you into wrestling? What made you sit down and go, I need to watch this sport?
I've mentioned it a few times on ours, but basically, I knew of wrestling back in I was born '86, so it was kind of the '90s when I knew about it. I bought all the figures and stuff, but to be honest, we didn't have Sky and stuff in our house or cable or anything like that, so I didn't really get to see it. So I went round to my friends one day, and it was the pay-per-view with the debut of Kane. So, as a kid, you're sitting there and you're watching the Big Red Machine come out and rip, the Hell in a Cell door off. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker have just had a brilliant match up to that point. And that was it then. As soon as I saw him, I was like, the drama of it, for a kid to watch it. You see what kids watch these. We both got kids. We know what they watch these days, and it isn't that. And going back to them, and seeing them come in and obviously do the tombstone and everything, it was just fascinating, and that's kind of what has always kept me coming back.
100%, man. When you watch like what my kids watch, probably yours as well, you're like, this is like so PG compared to what we watched. Like back when we were young, had Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2 was like a 5-year-old film. Like, we were in nursery still watching it and stuff.
Exactly.
And then nowadays you're like, I'm not going to put any weird things on. It's Paw Patrol, or like, and you're sitting watching, tuned in for hours watching Paw Patrol.
Yeah. My lad likes to watch what is it, the Teen Titans and stuff like that on Cartoon Network. So that's my most of my day.
I've got my kid's okay. Like he just likes to sit with his tablet and watch some YouTube stuff. He's into, because we're doing like homeschooling just now.
Yep.
So he's really into watching that now. The Magic Pencil from like the BBC back in like the 90s. He loves watching that just now. But if I see that pencil one more time, I'm like, you need to leave. We need to watch wrestling or something. You need to go play with some toys, or just let me watch a real thing. But when I was younger, I was quite similar. I was born in '91. I know I'm bald and stuff. Kids, it's like.
So
I was born in '91, and I was 5, and I was walking in my mum's friend's house and had a VHS on, and it was like just, I can't remember what it was. It might have been WCW it was on. I just sat down and watched the whole pay-per-view, and I was like, I need to get toys for this. I need to watch this, and it was just every week. Like I didn't have Sky in my house. Like, my family were cheap. They were just like, we're not getting Sky. So I was like late to getting Sky. Like, I think it was NTL, if you remember them back in the day.
Yeah.
I got that, and it was like 2000. I think it was a Millennium deal when you got it really cheap. And I remember getting it, and I was like, I can watch wrestling. This is great. And then when that ran up, we lost out. But my last name's Kane, literally spelled like the wrestler Kane.
Really?
So
there you go, meant to be.
In school, it was the worst thing. Oh, kid, on, you're playing wrestling. Who you want to go? You need to go Kane. do I need to go Kane? Can I go somebody else?
Shouldn't have mentioned it now, should I?
No, it's one of the. I love that match as well, but every time I see him come up, I'm like, the memories of back in the day of like just horribleness of school. People, you need to be Kane. I'm like, oh. I would always be the person. So in school, if you remember on like school time, you'd be like, oh, we'll go play wrestling outside.
Yeah.
Somebody would come out as Stone Cold. The cool guy's always The Rock or somebody like that.
That was me.
So I was
back in the day, so I'll take that.
So I was Kane. I had a bit of paper on my face, kind of, and had a mask. I was always, this is really poo. So the other question is, how long have you kind of been in the business or a fan of the business? Like, how long have you kind of been following it? Just since you were a kid,
Yeah, since I was a kid. I mean, I've dipped in and out. Obviously, we all know WWE's had its good periods and its bad periods. We've got, I was a huge fan of TNA when it first started, but then that just got stupid. But now, in my eyes, and I say this quite regularly on my Twitter account, Impact is up there for me in one of the top brands at the moment. I'm not a huge fan of the AEW collab, but it is what it is. I've never really followed New Japan. I know about it. I know obviously all about the Bullet Club and Kushida and, obviously the stuff that's going on with Moxley at the moment. But it's always been, I've always been a WWE guy. I'm open to anything. Like I will literally watch any wrestling show that's on there. But when it comes to actually being in the business, I've written for a few websites and stuff. I was a writer at heart. So I wrote for SLTD Wrestling. I wrote for them for a little bit. And then Chris used to be the lead editor for Body Slam. And he reached out and said, does anyone want to do it? And because it was more news-based, it was more quick hits, I jumped on and said, yeah, let's do it. But at the core, I've always wanted to do podcasting. And obviously when lockdown hit and we're all in the same situation, and I think everyone's doing a podcast now, but I just think it's the best way to have the chat, isn't it? It's the best way to have that rapport. So yeah, I've been in the business since I can remember.
I'm the same. When the podcasting stuff started when lockdown hit, so I'm self-employed, and it was like one day I was fine. The next day, all my clients phoned me and were like, "Well, we're going to be closed. We can't afford you," because I do marketing and advertising. Mm-hmm. So pretty much the marketing and advertising industry doesn't get helped as much because it's not essential. So the arse fell right out of it, and I was like, "Oh shit, what am I going to do?" So I decided just to kind of do a podcast, and I was like, I like wrestling. We'll sit and watch. I can watch wrestling all day and talk about it. But it was this year I was like, you know what, I'm going to reach out to people, because I was watching you guys and I was like,
thanks, buddy.
Everybody seems friendly and stuff. I can just, and obviously everybody's really supportive on my channel anyway. So I was like, you know what, I'll reach out and see if anybody wants to be on it, because it's like it's getting a wee bit not boring, but sometimes you're talking to yourself about wrestling. You're like, am I saying the right thing? Am I just
No, I'm with you. Yeah, because the one thing, because obviously if you follow Chris's Deez's Twitter, he's kind of the heel of the group. He likes to get the pull by putting outrageous things out there. 99% of them are true. It's just how he says it. And I like to be the neutral guy. I'm the man in the middle who doesn't kind of have any allegiance to one brand or the other. And I think we've always just had a rapport. But you're right. It's one of the mad things about the internet wrestling community is it's so hell and heaven. You have the heaven group, which is just perfection, and you can have such a good debate and such a good conversation and chat, and then you have the people who wish you'd die. There's no in between. Do you know what I mean?
I know, man, I get that, and sometimes when I was first starting, so obviously, like, I'm not a big channel, but when I was first starting, you get like 2-3 views, and you're like, this is like nobody's listening to me at all. You know what I mean? The 2 views are yourself checking yourself out to see if anybody's like looked, and people used to comment and be like, "Oh, you're bald," or like one time I think it was my birthday, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go get some whiskey," and they were like, "Oh, that's how you're bald," and I was like, "Why does everyone keep pointing out that I've got no hair? Do you not think I know I've got no hair? I shave it every day. I know it's not."
How's that an abuse though? You've got.
I know. I used to be like, this is like. Like, at least come up with something fun. Like, I'm Scottish. I'm literally from Glasgow, which is like, you grow up here. It's kind of like, you're Liverpool, isn't it?
I'm Liverpool, yeah. Lawson's from Edinburgh, I think.
Edinburgh, that's the posh area of Scotland. But like, you know, like, it's just, you get just slated every day. Like we get, like I go to Muay Thai MMA gyms here, and it's just guys just calling you names every day. So somebody calling me bald, it's like that's like my nickname at the gym. So it's not really like anything bad. But like you were saying about Impact Wrestling, I was a huge TNA fan because Sting's my favourite wrestler ever.
Yeah.
So like I'm a mark for Sting. Like anything he does, I love. But his AEW thing, don't just forget that. When I seen him go to TNA, I was like, this is amazing. Like he's going to help this promotion. I had the DVDs. I've still got them. And then they went through that period when Hogan came.
Yeah,
it was like the Joker Sting, and I was like, I just need to. I'll need to stop watching it here. But right now, like you say, I think Impact's the best. It's like I put unknown. Like people really don't watch it, but they put on great wrestling nearly every. It's like NXT UK.
Yes.
Just great wrestling. There's nothing, and they don't even need stories. You just put it on, chill, watch it. But then I get what you're saying about AEW, man. I'm getting a wee bit fed up with them myself. Like I like them.
I like them too. I'm not a hater. But for me, no champ should pin the other champs. Do you know what I mean? That shouldn't happen. He could have pinned anyone else in that match, but he had to pin, Rich Swann. And as soon as you do that, you make your brand weak. And that's what seems like they're doing every week now with these AEW adverts. I paid them $100 to have an advert. What are you saying about this product that you cohabiting with? It just, I don't like it.
I honestly thought like it would have been more 50-50, so Impact would have had like cool wee ads on like AEW just to be like kind of, we only paid AEW $100 as well, like just something like
to have that back and forth.
Aye, but then like the AEW is coming in with the money and they're like, we're the big guys, but Impact's got like kind of that. It's been there for years. Like as much as they have had terrible things that they've done like. Really, like, who wrote this?
Yes,
but AEW just see like they're still a very young company. I would just kind of either take what Impact's done, team up better, 50-50. I don't know. I watch AEW and for my show, so when I'm doing AEW NXT, but I would say since it started, since 2021 kind of began, it's just not been the same since last year. It had a couple of good times, but and Sting coming back, like. I hate saying this, he's my favourite wrestler of all time, but like him coming back, I'm like, this is so cringy. Like the hoodlums thing. Who says hoodlums?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly. And when he threw the skateboard out the window, I was like, you're in a warehouse that's absolutely abandoned, mate. You're not a hoodlum for smashing that window. You're not a hoodlum, are you?
Or Sting failing, like the multi-millionaire, failing to like break the small glasses that are already broke. Like, why you? What are you doing?
Exactly.
This isn't even cool. And then I was like, is this the 90s? Have we flashed back to like terrible WCW in the 90s? But I was like, this is just cheesy. And then he's going to do a street fight. Like, could he not just be a manager? Because he can still give the rub, be a manager.
61, he shouldn't be wrestling. It's the same with Goldberg. But even Goldberg's in a much better condition than Sting. Physically he is. He can't do a jackhammer to save his life, and he should never ever go near it ever again. Especially, and if he does it to Drew, he's going to kill Drew. But I'm not a fan of AEW with all their managers. I don't like as many factions of these as they've got. It's they're big on tag teams, but the women's division is pointless. You might as well not have it.
I say that every week, man. If you watch the show, I literally say, "Why is women wrestling on this channel?" just stopped AEW women wrestling it now till they build it up or put it on like. So I thought AEW Dark. Why did they not just put the women on that? I get they'll be like it's the second show because they social justice warriors and stuff, but build up like a name for the women first because there's nobody to watch in AEW apart from the men, and then
it's the only one that I care about really.
And she's not even like she's not even like a main like well known person yet. Like she's just kind of there. Like the only I know the Ty Conti, so I met her a few times. Like, but that's like hit. Like it's like nobody else to be like, oh, this is really like. I would say I would watch her because I've met her a few times. I know her, but like that's
if you didn't, exactly.
If I didn't know her, I would be like, I'm not watching this. This is like I don't know this person. But there's a few like I was going to ask, what they called totally forgot their name. Young Bucks. There we go.
Yes.
They'll flop between being heels and good guys.
Every
So this week I think they were heels again. Heels.
They were 50-50 because they were bad guys until Omega came and said,
that was it.
You hit Don. And then they were bad guys again. No, they were good guys then. And then they came to the ring and had a good match as good guys, but then ended as bad guys.
I was going to ask, what do you think about them? Do you think maybe they're just like, because they're in a high position in the company, throwing their weight around? Like, I get tag team wrestling's kind of died off because WWE's ruined it, but like, they're not the saviours of tag team wrestling because there's so many better tag teams, and like they're just indie kind of guys. I hate saying that because indie wrestling's good sometimes.
Yes, yeah, it's phenomenal. Ring of Honor is an absolute credit to that
I need
team.
I need to see ICW. I'm from Glasgow. They're
ICW
from here,
well.
so. But I just like good guys, bad guys, good guys, bad guys. I'm like, nobody even knows to cheer for you, boo for you, what to do, what we might do.
The Young Bucks are an enigma by themselves, aren't they? A lot of people, obviously from the independent scene, love them. They always have. I've never been a fan, purely because I see them as kind of the weak Hardy Boys, very weak Hardy Boys. I don't think either of them has a personality that has me gripped, and I'm not going to go to a YouTube channel to watch your, Elite series for me to understand you. I should see that on that 2-hour show that I want to tune into every week. So for me, the best tag team division currently at the moment that I'm watching is NXT. I think NXT, especially with the Dusty Cup, they've got some really good tag team. I mean, MSK, the old Rascals, phenomenal tag team. So I don't know, with the Young Bucks, yeah, they are an enigma. I get why people like them. I'm just not a fan of so many high spots all the time. And when FTR went there, the whole point of FTR going there was that they were going to have proper tag team wrestling. And now they're in a gimmick match with Luchasaurus and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So you take what you can with the entertainment you've got, but Young Bucks for me aren't a credible threat to anyone in my eyes.
Definitely, man. I don't think anybody in AEW is like I don't know if it's maybe we're being conditioned because we grew up watching wrestling in the 90s and it was always these like big guys. Like everybody got so angry about Undertaker saying like the guys now are not as hard as what they used to be. But the guys back in the day looked like professional wrestlers. Everybody looks like you go to the gym and you see like those guys just walking in and out. You know what I mean? Like it's no anybody different, and nobody back in the day you could relate to, like, I don't know, like a kid can relate to Sting, his face paint and stuff like that. But that Sting can sell to like the big demographic, 25 to 49. Then also the older people. Everybody went for everybody, but then like now it's just kind of like, AEW's literally just like, we're only going for like 25 to 49.
Yeah.
These people that like niche wrestling, which I don't really get why you wouldn't want to just have everybody involved. But like you said,
no.
NXT is probably the best tag team division, the best women's division.
Yep. The women's division is fire. And especially with who they've just signed, Priscilla Kelly and a few people like that who they've just brought in. I'm a huge fan of anyone in that main event scene. Tony Storm, Io Shirai, Gonzalez. They just can't. The one thing, Triple H, Vince gets the bad rap, but as me mate D says, he's making money hand over fist every single bloody minute of the day. He's doing something right, even if the viewership is quite low on Raw. We've got our own theory on that, which I'll go into later. But as to why they want it to be so low, we've got a feeling that they want to go to permanently on Fox for all shows, especially with USA buying the hockey for Wednesdays. It just makes more sense for them to be predominantly Fox. So if you make your ratings poor, you know what I mean, they have to sell you. And if they sell you, there's Fox waiting to jump on, make it more edgy. But yeah, going back to NXT anyway. Yes, the best women's division, the best tag team. Obviously, the Grizzly Young Veterans, from my neck of the woods, one of them. The Undisputed Era, loved them since day one. So yeah, definitely.
like you're saying about the ratings as well, a lot of people forget is when you see the ratings, it's mostly just the American ratings you get.
Yes.
Because like if we're not staying up to watch Raw for 3 hours at like 1 o'clock in the morning, do you know what I mean? Like it's pointless. So like, and then Raw comes on like what 4-6 weeks in the network after. I wonder what the actual ratings is like 6 weeks down the line. Like,
Yeah.
is somebody still watching it on there? Are you getting like another 900,000 people that's watching it in 6 weeks because they know they can get it for part of their network? Or
Yeah.
like, are they ending up with 5 million people watching an episode of Raw after 6 weeks? Like, I would like to see those kind of numbers. But
Well, it's everything in it, because even on like the WWE YouTube channel, I think the Randy Orton RKO on Bliss got 14 million views. You know what I mean? So they're not stupid. They're making money hand over fist. I just don't think they're that bothered about one platform now. I think especially with signing on to, is it Peacock?
Peacock,
Yeah, and they're making 5 billion over 5 years, or 2 billion over 5 years, something. They're not. I don't really think viewership is a thing for them. I think they know they've got the fan base, but maybe they're thinking more. It's an online fan base now, as you said. You know, I record it and watch it the day after on Sky, on BT Sports. Sorry. So I think you're right. I think a lot of the viewership has gone online. It wouldn't surprise me if down the line they solely just went on a online, streaming service. It would make sense.
Definitely, especially the way the world is. Like, WWE are obviously a marketing company. That's what they know how to market their type of wrestling. No, just like the old wrestling stuff's obviously might no like, well, when we grew up in the Attitude Era, that kind of stuff won't go now.
No.
But they know how to market that. They know how to sell, and they're obviously smart business people. They make millions and millions a day.
Yeah.
Like, if I was making their money a day, I wouldn't be doing anything. I wouldn't be working like Vince. I'd be sitting in a
that's the one thing.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the one thing I'd love to know, though. I know people talk about viewership and stuff, and I know Tony Khan's got billions in the bank, but because obviously WWE is a public company, we know what they're making, and the Thunderdome has been a massive, massive thing for them. That they are making every show. They're making millions per show now, probably more than they did pre-pandemic. So I would really love to know what the income and outgoing of all shows are as well, money-wise. Like here on the old SmackDown versus Raw when you were the GM and you could see what each show earned. It'd just be interesting to know what like NXT earns money-wise in comparison to Dynamite. So yeah, you've got 800,000 and they've got 600,000, but did NXT make 5 million that show and AEW actually made 2? Do you know what I mean? I'd love to know that.
I think it's, if you do look at the shows, like comparing AEW and NXT, like AEW's obviously still has, it pretty much just looks like a WCW rip off with the grey colour and all that kind of stuff, like the later Nitros. NXT, just for me, I like NXT. I like what Triple H is doing, but it just seems too clean. Like, everything's just like sterile. Like, these guys come out, they wrestle, the storylines are quite similar. It's all kind of trying to be like hard hitting, but it doesn't really, they can't be too hard hitting because I've still got TV. And I'm always like, just put on like a different show. Like, I would like an NXT later or something like that. It's just like more.
Yeah, more edgy.
I just like people can just wrestle the way they want to do it. Like, if they want to have some blood, if they want to, I don't know, hit people with a chair or something, they're just allowed to just go do it. They don't need to like stress about, what will the TV tapers say or anything like that. Especially with a network, it's open for it to be there. I mean, they don't need to stress about, will only be a certain amount of fans, because I'm pretty certain there's only people like our age that are on the network just now. So
yeah.
That's what we're looking for. But like we were saying, WWE knows exactly what they're doing, especially with the Thunderdome. Like, I'm like a wee girl every time I get that email in. Like, I've got the Royal Rumble one. I had SmackDown, but I couldn't go last night. So I'm going to see if I can try and get Monday off to do the Royal Rumble. But the minute I see it come through, I'm like, I need to sign up. Even if I don't go, I'm like, what am I doing? But have you been on the Thunderdome yourself?
I haven't. I know. I think Stu has and Chris has. Chris was mentioning about he had the Lucha House Party on at the same time, like egging him on and stuff. I just don't think I could sit there and be forced to do things. Like put your hands in the air and cheer and all that. I'm like, nah. I just want to drink me tea and watch telly. Just leave me alone.
I was on one of the first kind of SmackDown ones, and I think it was the main event was Ricochet versus Ali, like the actual WWE main event was filmed before it. So I was on that. So I'm literally on the network with a purple Razor Ramon hoodie on. So I'm like, yes. But I went to the toilet and I came back and it was like, oh, because you left for too long, you've been disconnected. And I was like, what? I couldn't hold my pee in. You want to come with me? So I was a little bit like, oh, I enjoyed it. But at least I'm on the network.
Yeah, but that's your time.
The other question that we normally ask is, where did I put my questions? Kind of covered that one. Who's your favourite wrestler of all time? Like, if you could pick one wrestler to be your favourite, who is it?
There's always one that springs to mind, and he will forever be the greatest of all time. And it's not just solely for his wrestling ability. I just think his ability to hold a crowd is. There's no one before him, and there'll be no one after him, and it's The Rock. I think I've been a huge fan of his, not just his movie career, but the moment he joined, he was not liked. No one really cared about him, and then obviously he joins the corporation, becomes the champ, really fits into knowing his role, and then. Ever since that, and when he took the hiatus and when he came back as the host, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. When the electricity was going through and then he showed, Jesus Christ. He's the all-round performer. He's not amazing in the ring, but someone said something to me last week. It was Simon Cassidy, I think, from ICW, said that, there's certain wrestlers that when the camera's on them or the camera's not on them, they know how to use that time. And The Rock is the person, like Triple H, who knows how to use the time, no matter what. Like, the match against Mankind, the last man standing, he gets on the headset and he's talking in commentator and he just knows how to get those people in. So it's always been him. I was a Stone Cold fan as well. Again, just because, as you said, you want to see someone come in and kick ass, don't you, and take names. But I think now in the modern era, the two that really come to my mind are Kevin Owens and Adam Cole. But yeah, I think the greatest for me of all time has got to be The Rock.
The Rock was cool, man. I used to like him when I was younger, but for me, it always has to be like Sting. But for a WWE guy, it would have to be like Taker or Stone Cold. Those two are like. I obviously need to represent the bald guy because we stick together. It's a club. But I get the Rock stuff. Like, one of my favourite matches is King of Ring 99, Taker versus Rock. I had everything, action. The Rock was like just at that bit when the crowd was starting to like him, but still was booing him at the same time. Taker was just Taker. And I just remember that one being like, this is great. I love both these guys. And that is probably 99 was when I was like, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Like this is like WCW. WCW was still, it was getting terrible, but like it was still doing good stuff. And then WWF was just killing it everywhere they went. But definitely, like, I think The Rock knows how to do anything. Look at his Instagram. He's literally he's awake all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Don't know when he finds time to sleep.
Like I'm a person who gets up every day for like business wise. I get up 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and then I go to bed like 10, 11 p.m. So I'm awake all the time. Mostly because if you're having kids, you need that little couple of hours yourself. Just to,
Have you got the muscles then? Yeah.
No. I wish I did, man. I go to the gym and stuff like that, but I go to the gym and stuff, but I just don't get the same results. I think he must be taking some sort of magic potion that I don't know about. The other question is, what's your favourite event of all time? Like, what's an event that somebody could put on, you've seen a million times, and you're like, best, I can watch this.
Well, we recently, for WrestleMania season, we spoke about WrestleMania 17. And I think for me, that's got to be one of the most all-round performances of a pay-per-view that there's ever been. I think there's some matches we don't really care about, like the APA and Taz versus Right to Censor, and there's the gimmick battle royal. But straight after that gimmick battle royal, You had Shane and Vince. We had TLC. We had Triple H and The Undertaker. And then we had Rock and Austin. And, we had Kurt Angle and the man who shall not be named, this memoir. We just had some amazing matches on there. And for me, it's got the best promo ever. The best promo package for Austin and The Rock with My Way by Limp Bizkit on there. And that always gives me goosebumps every time I see that. So yeah, I think it's got to be the two that I will always go back and watch is WrestleMania 17, and I will always watch Royal Rumble 98 because it was just Austin was on his prime then, wasn't he? He had the target on his back, and it was just brilliant. And they had the midget match, didn't he? I mean, come on. Almost one out of wrestling.
It had everything: family event, midgets to bald men winning. It was just great. But WrestleMania 17 is definitely one of my favourites. I don't know why nobody talks about that Triple H versus Taker match there. Really? Like was it the year after that? I think it was 18. He done Taker and Ric Flair, which was another great match. I mean, Taker obviously does everything great at WrestleMania, but those kind of 2-3 years in a row, Taker just had amazing matches, just hitting the ball out the park. But I think 17 was probably something that I would go back and watch, but just because it was my first actual VHS, since we're old enough to remember them, that we got was King of the Ring 99. That was the first one I ever got. I remember putting it in, and I got WCW Bash at the Breach 99, which is okay, it's not great. But I sat and watched King of the Ring like just over and over, and that's what got me into wrestling. So I started wrestling training like 4 years after that, but I would just sit and watch it continuously. And I'd be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Which was, then my mum got me Bad Blood on DVD, which was 2003. And which is, nobody talks about Bad Blood. Those 2 years when that was on, they were the best. Bad Blood was
so good.
And it just seemed to be a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view as well.
Yeah.
So it was like the first one was Kevin Nash and Triple H, and then Triple H and Shawn Michaels. But that's like my favourite kind of ones, just because they mean like a lot to me. When I was younger, stuff like that.
But don't get me wrong, I go back now and I watch some of the Attitude Era stuff, and I'm like, did I really enjoy that? Do you know what I mean? Did I really enjoy that? Some of it is so bad, but within that, like we spoke about it quite often, but the Ruthless Aggression era was, for the wrestling period, was much better than the Attitude Era, but the Attitude Era had so much more memorable storylines. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the difference between the two. But yeah, the Attitude Era wasn't that great. If you actually go back and watch it.
No, I don't think it's the Ruthless Aggression era was probably the best time for wrestling, because you had what Batista, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Chris Benoit, Eddie. Obviously, Chris Benoit, I always need to say we don't agree with anything he done in his personal life. It was just in the ring stuff. Eddie Guerrero, Kane, Undertaker, everybody was just like on form. But I don't know if it was the same for you, but most time we would only watch WWE for that hour segment on like Sky One or Channel 5, Channel 4. So I think everybody enjoyed it because it was condensed right down to this little.
It's what Raw needs to be at the moment.
Like it. Obviously, they have the condensed show on like Channel 5 to put the hour thing out, but they still drag it on. It's always just like, here's like your week in wrestling, and here's the one most boringest part you're going to get half an hour of.
Exactly.
So like, can you just cut that out? But no, today the best thing is Roman Reigns and Owens, and I'll hands down say that's the best thing happening in wrestling.
Yep.
Like, if Roman Reigns doesn't go in the Hall of Fame for the fact that everybody hated his guts like 3 years ago, to turning it round to everybody liking him, just that alone, he should be.
Exactly, but it was a perfect thing. I mean, how long did fans say, turn him heel? Turn him. He's a perfect heel because, he beat The Undertaker at Mania. You know what I mean? He's the only one of two that's done it, and he was an arsehole when he did it. He came out saying this was his yard. Right then, you turn him heel, and all of a sudden, he'll become a fan favourite. Overnight, people will love him. So when I think you put him now in any storyline, like the Jey Uso storyline was fantastic. The Kevin Owens storyline's been brilliant. I'm just hoping that they get it right at Mania for him.
I'm wondering who he's going to go and win next. I think anybody him and Heyman touch just knew like Heyman and Brock Lesnar worked well because, well, Heyman can do anything.
Yeah.
But Roman Reigns and Heyman are amazing. Like anything they touch is just gold. Like Kevin Owens, last month, who really? He was a good wrestler, but who really cared what he was doing? And then now he's like, oh, what's Kevin Owens doing?
Yeah.
So it's like, who's he going to give that rub to?
What I will say about KO is that because he's just, like I said, he's one of my favourites, so I'm going to defend him a little bit here. When the pandemic hit, he was doing nothing. Yeah, true, he was doing nothing. But I was saying this to the lads, if you look from the first Raw, when he came back, after WrestleMania, when he had that brilliant match against Seth, he got injured, didn't he? Hurt his ankle, and he was out for a few weeks. But then he came back and he started doing the KO show and things like that. And I said, if you watch the first, 2-3 months of that pandemic, Kevin Owens makes the shows. He really does, because again, he's amazing on the mic. You know, for a guy of his size, he's brilliant in the ring. Can do anything you put in front of him. But I think just he needs to be in that main event scene, and I don't think it's not a coincidence that since Daniel Bryan started writing for SmackDown, that you're seeing Kevin Owens in that main event scene more often. That's why we're seeing Shinsuke. That's why we're seeing Cesaro. He's very clued into what the fans want, but you just don't want to get too much of it. Do you know what I mean? And I think I'm going to be sad for Kevin, because he's had 3 months worth of pay-per-views with Reigns, and each one's been phenomenal. And I think then he's going to miss out on Mania. I just don't see who we can feud with. I mean, unless he's going to go for Jay. That's the only thing I can see them two having a great match. But I can't see any way for them to go to Mania against Reigns unless he wins, and I don't see him winning.
It might be a shock, man, but like you said, I don't see him winning. I'm a Kevin Owens fan as well. I remember him being back in 1PW, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Which had every American star that the guy just bought everybody to come off. But I remember watching him back then when I was 14, 13 and just loving what he was doing. So I've watched him for a long time. It's so cool to watch somebody from back in 1PW, which was terrible quality DVDs and stuff you would get. And then you would see him now and he's doing really good. But the only thing is, like you say, it's what's he going to do next?
I don't see where he fits. I don't see where he fits after this, because he's not going to fight for the IC title. Because the thing, if Big E keeps it after this week, I didn't see SmackDown yesterday, so I don't know if he lost it or won it or kept it or even fought for it. But we were kind of hoping he might win the Rumble. But if he's holding the IC title, he's not going to. But you can't have Big E versus KO. I just don't think it would work unless Big E turns full heel or KO turns full heel. But how many faces have you got left on SmackDown if you do that? Do you know what I mean? Everyone's a heel at the moment, aren't they?
The only tip I would give you, man, is don't watch SmackDown for last night. The last 40, 45 minutes of it was eye-gougingly bad.
Really? It's been such a good show.
It was just the stuff they do in Raw, a single match that turns into a tag team match that turns into a bigger tag team match. That's all I'm going to say, man. It was hard.
Hate it.
Because I got up at 3 this morning. I was doing some workout stuff, and then I was watching it, and I was like, "Why is this so bad? I need to put some mustard on just to make myself feel better." But it was bad. I don't think I don't know. I feel the pandemic and stuff is just getting to everybody.
Yeah.
Especially if you think WWE hasn't stopped during this, so they're just at the point when it's like, what the hell else are we going to do in the Thunderdome?
Exactly. I mean, it says everything that I can't wait for Mania, just to have 25,000 fans in that stadium. I cannot wait to hear a genuine, not pumping, screaming for fans. You know what I mean? I can't wait for it.
Even if they just had 2 or 3 people just where we clap, and then people were that's even better.
That's why I like NXT. You know what I mean? Because they do have crowds. I mean, it might be family members and friends of friends and stuff of the talent, but just hear them banging the wall and seeing the wrestlers interact with them. That's what you want, isn't it? You want that interaction. And Raw, I think WWE did brilliant, and I think they were the blueprint in terms of this is how you cope. yes, they've had little outbreaks and little clusters. I think every company has. I just think the spotlight was on WWE every time someone got sick. But the Thunderdome was a brilliant idea. Whoever came up with that, kudos to that. Do you know what I mean? But without fans, it's just not the same, is it? It's just not the same.
I totally agree, man. I think the best. I honestly thought they were going to charge for the Thunderdome when I first seen it. I was like, why are they not like charging like even like £5, $5, 10, whatever? Because
couldn't kick it out there when you went to the toilet, could they?
No, because it's a pain. Like you've got your hour before, which is for the main event, then your 2 hour for a SmackDown show. I can't hold my toilet for 3 hours. Like that's especially because it's at like midnight. That's like I've obviously had water. I'm normally sleeping at this time. What we do? But I honestly thought they would have charged. They would have probably made more money. But WWE know what they're doing. They know all those people that are signed up to their email list to get those emails. They're going to be making insane amounts from that data as well. So they know what they're doing. Like everybody always says, when Vince McMahon passes away, what's going to happen? It's a machine. Like he's obviously a smart business person. Like any business person has figured out a way to replace themselves. That's how you get loads of money, like he has.
Yeah, I think Chris has mentioned he's not entirely sure. He's got a theory, unless because we don't know the back scenes and stuff. We don't know how Triple H and Stephanie and these people are in these meetings, if they're even there to have these discussions with market and things like that. But I think once he goes, there will be a big hole. I think there will be. I think investors might get a little bit worried. We might see a subtle changes to the product as things go on. I think with Triple H having more of a hold, will he go more? Will he think more of the fans? I'm not entirely sure. It's going to be very interesting because we all know he's still in charge now. He's signing off on all the shows apart from NXT, because obviously Triple H runs that. But does he still probably have a hand in it? Probably.
The sad thing is, you can listen to anybody. Like I listen to a lot of Jim Cornette just because I like him shouting. I love when he listens. The name for the wrestlers in AEW, like the names that he's got for them are brilliant. And just when he just starts screaming and stuff. Obviously, he isn't the best at picking wrestling. Otherwise, he would still be in the position. But like any logical person, you can listen to them, disagree, but still like them.
Exactly.
But like I think, like if you're for instance, if Jim Cornette was booking it just now, like wrestling wouldn't be anywhere near where it is.
No.
Like Vince Russo, you're kind of that terrible WCW, the terrible TNA time. You relate that to Vince Russo, but Vince McMahon, you think wrestling, you just think Vince McMahon. Like he is, yep. He's like the god of wrestling. You might not agree with him, but he owns wrestling. Exactly. Wrestling is him, and all the guys in AEW, none of them would have a job if he didn't do what he done, because it probably would have still been big guys moving slow, putting on big holds, like if you remember, I'm sure you went back and watched like the old 70s and 80s wrestling on the network, and it's like, wow, this is slow.
Yeah, couldn't imagine being there watching it.
You can tell there's a bit when they're just like breathing out, like you want a beer in, you want, is there anything else you want? What are you doing? But a lot of people just don't get. And then like you says at the start there about Japan, like I've been to Japan before, because when I first started to do wrestling a little bit, my friend was wrestling in Japan, so I went with him. I learned a few things, but I don't watch it. I don't even know where you would get it in the UK, like unless you literally go on the internet and find it. Like it's I think easy for us.
The matches themselves are really good, but I think that is their focus. The story side of things doesn't really matter to that crowd. I think they're very respectful of the performance. I think the Japanese, it's all about the dance, isn't it? It's all about what you're seeing in the ring. It's a spectacle every time. It doesn't, I've cheated with your wife, or I've ran over your dog. I don't really think that plays in Japan. I think it's more, can these two people put on a brilliant match? And that's why it works. That's why it works over there. But we've had the discussion here. If you bring New Japan here, does it work? Or to US? I don't think it does. I don't think it's got enough of a fan base to stick. I see the same with AEW. I think they'll constantly hit the numbers they are. Do I see them ever getting 1.5, 2 million views like SmackDown? No, I just don't see it.
I totally agree with what you're saying. Like New Japan Pro Wrestling, it works in Japan because they have the crazy TV shows, like the crazy game shows, so they don't need a story because I've got a place to go for that. But here you want kind of both. You want like the sports side of it, because like even watching like football or rugby, whatever, there's still a story to be told. Like in Glasgow, it's Celtic versus Rangers. Nobody really cares if you support Celtic or Rangers. It's the first thing you ask somebody. Like, I think it's the first thing me and Stuart asked. Like he was like, "Oh, do you support Celtic or Rangers?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really like football, but it would be Celtic. I know he's Rangers, so we're kind of
through and through
sending memes." So, but I think it's a cool like, and we need a story like Japan, like you said, is just wrestle in the ring, bounce off ropes, make it look hard hitting, and that's good. But that's the type of wrestling you get taught when you went to Japan. Like when I've watched guys, that's just you need to make it look real because it's based in real kind of like the UFC. If that was a work,
exactly.
It could technically be a work. Nobody knows, you know what I mean? But that would be the best work in the history.
What if it worked out, wouldn't it?
But
Vince the owner.
That would honestly be great. That would be just pulls off Dana White. Like it's just like a fake king. It's always been me. Got you, no, but I think just the problem with wrestling in general, like AEW, you're saying like it's got a story and stuff like that. The stories are kind of half baked. Like it's like you shouldn't have touched my jacket. It's my jacket. You're like, what? Who's hoodlums? What the?
Exactly.
Like ECW back in the day. Like when you go, I used to love ECW. Like when I was a teenager because it was like something I wasn't seeing.
Yes.
So ECW One Night Stand when that came back 2005, I think it was. When I first seen that, I was like, this is great. Why is wrestling not like this? Then I watched ECW. Then now I'm like, oh, it's not like that because one, it costs a ton of cash to have tables and medics and all this kind of stuff. How disgusting it can be with like the blood and the stuff like that.
Yeah.
I still love watching barbed wire matches and stuff like that, but it's got its place. It's got its time. Yeah. Can't be every single week. No. And I think AEW forget like just to build something for a year, 2, 3. Instead of from just WWE, forget that as well. Don't get me wrong, but like AEW's
WWE are the king of the short stories now. I think what we used to have was it would run, from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, and you'd have that year-long feud kind of build up. The one thing with AEW, what I will say is, the reason why I thought they would succeed, I don't think they stuck to. They wanted to be, as you said before, they wanted to be different. They wanted to be a different breed of wrestling that was focused on like tag team and this and that and the other. But it was all meant to be about those wrestlers who deserve chances. That's great, but when you're just signing ex-WWE guy after ex-WWE guy, and the first thing that ex-WWE guy does is come into the ring and slag off WWE, and it happens again and again and again, it's like, I'm sorry, Miro, he might be a good, personality for some people. I think he's garbage. I think he's pointless. I don't get his gimmick. He's went from being a best man to being a best man. What's that about? Now he's got a butler and you're wearing Gucci. You know what I mean? It's just like your wife is doing much better on Raw and she's awful at what she's doing. It's just repeat. Like we had Cody Rhodes come out week on week on week on week having the same conversation about Shaq. There's nothing to me there. Like I wanted to tune in and watch people from New Japan come over. I wanted to watch, people from Ring of Honor get that chance. But instead, you're signing, Jake Hager. You're signing like Jon Moxley. People love him. Again, I'm not as big as fan. His promos are the same every week.
I think he's like it's like that indie ECW, CCW kind of style. Like it's got its place, but like like you says, every week. Like every week they go out to try and hit it out the park, and they never just get. It's like, I don't know. It's like somebody try to run a mile in 3 minutes, and they're always continuously getting 3:50. And you're like, just change up what you're doing. Then wear different shoes or something. Like,
Exactly.
stop doing the same thing every week. And the worst thing is, all you said, they're hiring ex-WWE guys.
Can't
Miro,
stand it.
like when he was Rusev, he was getting underused. Then he went to AEW, and I don't even know what he does. Like,
No, but even then, I mean, was he really getting underused in WWE? If you look at all the times he was relevant, his wife was his manager. Then he had what's his name from the Vaudevillains. He had what's the fella? I can't remember the fella's name. But
I can't remember.
He had him who effectively made Rusev Day. Rusev Day didn't exist until he started bloody announcing it, and then when they split them up again, he became irrelevant. And this is what people forget. They want it, but when they get it, do they really want it? And that's what Vince is good at. He's actually saying to them, but do you want it? Because when I'm putting it out there, you aren't clambering. Like, no one... I love Shinsuke Nakamura. I think Shinsuke's a brilliant talent. But do the WWE fans want it?
That style, man, it's this...
Do you know what I mean?
For me, I never seen him before.
Yeah.
He was in WWE, so... It was like the time when I was falling away from wrestling for a good 2-3 years. So when he was in like New Japan and stuff, I didn't really bother with wrestling at that point. I would maybe like catch it on the internet or something, but I'd be like, oh, don't really care. Yeah. But when he came to WWE, I was like, oh, this guy's cool. It's like a different style. Then obviously he's kind of been moulded into, everybody says moulded into the WWE style, but of course, if you get a job anywhere, you follow.
Yeah, of course you do.
What they do, but I like what he's doing just now. But like you're saying, like Rusev, he was like, his wife is terrible. Like, I really wish she would just stop wrestling. But like, he was a manager. It was cool. Then the Vaudevillains guy was cool, which I can't remember his name.
No,
and then it's like, is he a main eventer? No. Like, he's no. You can't see him with world championship. Nobody's gonna. You can't believe him as a world champion. No. Then I would say the same would go for Moxley as well. Like, he's like, even Jericho. Like, for you'll definitely relate with this. Back when we were watching wrestling like that, that early 2000 time, Jericho was really, really good. But he wasn't The Rock or Stone Cold, or if you remember Vengeance, I think it's Vengeance 2001, when he was in the tournament, he had The Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, and Jericho. It was like, why is it's like Rikishi being in that 6-man Hell in the Cell. Like, why are you doing that?
Exactly. And when he won it, I think people were still under the same. People were, when he was the unified champion, it was like, really? And again, he's a great persona. He's brilliant. Like, his promo segments and all that are fantastic. He's a really good in work, in the ring, wrestler. But there's so many that fit that category that people think deserve that push. But when they get the chance to be pushed, do they grab it? Jey Uso did. Jey Uso was like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it. I'm going to do what I can. But people forget, everyone wants Cesaro. Cesaro had Paul Heyman at one point as his manager, and he didn't get over. If you've got Paul Heyman as your manager and you can't get over, like, what was it? Kurt Hennig was exactly the same. You don't deserve to be in that main event scene. And there's so many talents that AEW have, that my worry is, as it gets further and further down the line and we're seeing the same people in that main event scene, are people going to get bored? Because there's only so many companies that can buy these talents. There's only so many.
I always think, like, if you really think about, like, AEW, so the two questions I have is really, who's a main event star there? Like, everybody kind of just seems like a maybe upper, like, the people in the main event would seem like an upper card for WWE. You'd maybe see them in, like, a tag team match or something like that. Nothing, like, I just feel like Dolph Ziggler, like, he was really good. And obviously that time, 2012-ish to 14-ish, when they started giving, like, world championships to just anybody. Like, Sheamus got it, Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, like, well before they should deserve to get it.
Yeah.
But, like, AEW's got, like, all those style of guys, so it's really people just kind of like, okay. But then the other question is, when Cody Rhodes, obviously he's Dusty Rhodes' son, right? He deserves to have a chip on his shoulder, but, like, who really are like?
Is he
Stardust?
that good? I don't see him as that good.
Like that.
But I don't think
as well.
Exactly. I don't see. Like, for me, his brother's better in the ring. Dustin Rhodes is well better in the ring out of the two of them. It's a very weird dynamic because even like, is Kenny Omega coming across as the big guy at the moment? I don't think so. I mean, the only one I would say there, and yes, I still don't think he is the main event guy in terms of, I mean, he's won the title and he's their poster boy in Moxley. Moxley is AEW. I get it. I can see it and I understand it. I don't fully agree with, him just being given it and running with it for as long as he did. But do we see Kingston as a challenger? Do we see, do you know what I mean? Do we see these people as challengers? I don't see it as challengers.
If they really wanted to, like, obviously, if everybody wants to get that kind of attitude era 90s feeling, if it was me and I was the person booting AEW, I'd have got Moxley, Jericho, all kind of coming in at the same time and just do like an NWO style. Because Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan were always WWF guys.
Yeah.
They spent most of their career in WCW, but they're always WWF guys. John Moxley's the same. Everybody knows he's a WWE guy. That's everybody. Like, the Shield's still there. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Everybody's like, he's the guy at the Shield. So why would you not just do something like a play on that, like a play on that NWO kind of style? We're coming to take over this new company. Who does this new company think they are?
Yeah.
And then get rid of AEW Dark and make it, I don't know, NWO 2.20 or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could have AEW Dark, but as you said, make it meaningful. You go to the main show, they don't talk about it. They don't reference it. They might have quick, flashes of who's on it, but each match is 2 minutes. You have 15 matches on the show. Why you're doing that is bloody beyond me as it is. Why aren't you using that card to have 5 matches? Have each match tell a story, which then can maybe bleed into the main show. So you go, right, that story's told a little good, a bit of a segment there. Let's put that on the main show as, on AEW Dark, this happened. And you watch it and you go, oh, I can't wait to see that. And then next week, those two are actually fighting on the main show. That's how you do it. That's what Heat used to do. That's what Main Event used to do. That's what Thunder used to do. And people, even WWE, have kind of like, they've got Main Event, but all of these shows, they've just got too many shows, really, if you think about it. But all of these shows have just lost what they were there for. That's what the house shows are for as well. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we can't have them at the moment. But I think AEW are really struggling. Like, I don't care about Tony Khan. Couldn't give a shit, sorry, but I couldn't care. And every single talent is talking about him now during their segments. I spoke to Tony, and Tony said this. I'm going to go to Tony, and Tony's not Vince.
It's not even got like the same, like, he's so awkward in the ring, like with the Brody Lee stuff, and nothing against Brody Lee. Obviously, the guy passed away, it's a shame. But like, when his son was in the ring, which I don't even know why they're doing this stuff with his son, which is really confusing. Like, if you just give the kid the money, give him his contract till the contract runs up, like, the kid's going to appreciate that more. Put it in stocks just now or something. But
have him on Being Elite, have him on AEW Dark. Fair enough. Do you know what I mean?
Start AEW Kids YouTube channel or something, because make him a Ryan's Toy style in a person or something. Just give him the opportunity for the future to make him choose. But when you see Tony in the ring, he's just poor. He's always like, what are you doing? Just stand up.
Well, Dee's put a brilliant tweet out. It was the advert for Impact, and it shows Tony Khan with his arms crossed, and he says, as no one told Tony Khan how to cross his arms, because this fella doesn't know how to do it. And that's what it's like to me. It's like a kid in a playground. He's got this toy, and he wants to see what he can do with it. And he's given people the platform, and it's brilliant. But people don't, especially the US. He also owns Fulham. And both of them are a shit show. Do you know what I mean? Both of them are a shit show.
As well, if you think about it, like so ICW is. So when I was younger, I tried to set up a wrestling business in Glasgow. Me and my friend had a couple of shows. We got maybe like 30, 40 people that came. It was pretty cool for a terrible little show, you know what I mean? So we got like 30, 40 people. Then ICW was kind of doing their thing at Maryhill, which is a part of Glasgow. So I was like, oh, well, I ended up breaking my neck, so I was like, I can't continue doing anything. So then I started watching them. Like that guy who set that up started with nothing. Most of the wrestlers there come from like the guy I know that started ICW. He goes to the health centre that's just up the road. I see him every day. Like if I go to Tesco or something, he's just like walking around.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody you can relate to. Tony Khan's dad's a multi-billionaire. Like, how can you? You're not going to relate to Stephanie McMahon just as much as you're not going to relate to. But at least she feels wrestling. He just feels like somebody that just goes, "Oh, this is a good idea. Let me just throw every bit of cash I've got to it."
Exactly, and I think that's the difference. I mean, obviously, like even like Vince wasn't your everyday man, but we respect what he did. He took a promotion from the east side of America and turned it into the biggest thing we've ever seen. His kids come in, and while we might not be able to relate to them, he didn't say these are now running the show. They had Triple H and Stephanie was the storyline. Obviously, Shane and his mum and stuff with the storyline. Tony, I don't understand his place. And then outside of that, I don't understand the Elite's place. I don't really get that. I don't understand when the Elite faced Jericho's crew. What was the point?
I think a lot of AEW is like, if you remember back in the olden days, 2005 or something. I hate saying olden days because I'm like, I still feel young. But it was EWR. Do you remember? It was like an online booking thing, and there used to be forms for it and stuff like that. It was like now people booking that, you'd set themselves with unlimited money and be like, "Oh, look what I did! I booked this show and it got like a 5.4." That's what AEW feels like. It's just like, I've got unlimited money. I'm going to get everybody who the people want to see, but I'm not going to bring anybody good. Like Tony banned Hulk Hogan. Like, you might not like Hulk Hogan. I don't think he's not the best wrestler. He's terrible in the ring, but you put him anywhere, people are going to stop and watch him because he's Hulk Hogan, same as Ric Flair. Ric Flair is good, but so you put him anywhere, people know Ric Flair, Harley Race, Andre Giant, Big Show, Rock, Stone Cold, Kane. But you look at, like, even now you've got Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns. Like, Roman Reigns is probably the only one that really looks like a real wrestler at the minute. Then you've got, who else? Drew McIntyre. People will stop and watch them, but then if you put like John Moxley, maybe Jericho will be. I remember you from back in the day. Cody Rhodes for. What's wrong with your neck? Then,
but he's never.
Omega's just.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes has never been that, and this is what people don't really understand. Like, they back themselves into so many corners with it. Like, obviously Cody can't fight for the heavyweight title. Why did you make the company then, mate? The whole point was to have you at some point in that ring holding that title, crying your eyes out like, I did it. And now, you're probably going to come up with some stupid way in 5 years to go, that was Cody who couldn't do it. Cody Rhodes can. You know what I mean? They're going to do something stupid like that, like the TJP angle with the X Division. But they keep backing themselves into corner, and I don't want your listeners and stuff to think that I bash AEW. I love all wrestling. I love all wrestling from one side to the other. Like Raw, in compared to AEW, Raw is fucking woeful. If you take out Randy, Alexa, and Drew, that show could just disappear, and no one would really care. But for me, then it does go AEW after it. And it's because at the moment, I can't see any consistency with their product. I can't see any consistency with the stories they're trying to tell. You had Eddie Kingston, who was one of the hottest things with Moxley, even though I didn't like it. I like the backstory of it. I didn't necessarily think he should be fighting for a title. But now he's in a garbage story with Lance Archer. And Lance Archer was a heel until last week, and now he's got a problem with Kingston. It's just... And I don't care about Jake the Snake. I didn't when he wrestled. I don't care about him now. I cared more about the snake in his bag. You haven't got the snake anymore, so I don't care. There's just so much about the promotion that if they just sat down and wrote it out, and they'd actually look at it and go, shit, why are we telling this story? I don't really understand it. And I think that's what they're missing. It's the long-term sell. Like, Do we care about Snoop Dogg? Does anyone, even in the rap game, does anyone really care about Snoop Dogg anymore?
I totally forgot about Snoop Dogg being on the show,
Exactly.
man. I actually like see even the Shaq stuff when they
Yeah,
start.
I don't care.
Like I'm like Shaq is like that's cool. Basketball's not really big anywhere else in the world,
Yeah.
apart
But
from
we've
like
seen
America.
it. But we've seen it. This is what I'm saying. We saw them in WWE. We saw Snoop Dogg in WWE. We've seen it. Why aren't you going to get someone now who's hot? You know, who's been out there that you could go, you know, who's in pop culture and go, right, bring them in. No, you're bringing the people we've already seen. You're bringing in, as you know, I'm like you. I thought Sting, especially when he came to WWE, you know, for me it was like my mind was blown. It was amazing. But when he shows up in AEW, I was like, okay.
The one thing that killed me with the Sting coming in, obviously the Seth Rollins match stuff was just no. But at WrestleMania, the Triple H comes out, the Terminators come out. So I love Terminator; it's like my favourite thing. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I remember waking up my partner and she was like, what is it? And it was like 4 in the morning. I was like, there's Terminators, the Sting's coming out, wake up and watch this. So I'm going back to bed. Then Sting came out and then the match went on and I was like, cool. I knew Triple H was going to win because they're not going to put Sting over on him.
No.
Plus Triple H looks a lot better than Sting if you were just thinking about real life. Then the NWO came out and I was like, you just don't like each other.
No.
I get these were in WCW, but why would the NWO come out and help Sting when Sting literally tried to destroy the NWO? Just follow a story. And it feels like that with AEW. It's like, oh look, we've got Sting, but here's this other guy that paints his face. And it's like, they don't even look the same. It looks like your granddad that's still painting his face, and then who's got like really weird looking hair. Like I've got a cheek to speak, right? But it's gone like grey but black at the ends. It's like, just dye your hair. And the Snow, I don't get. He's obviously a multi-millionaire from wrestling. Like he's got enough money. He had enough money to retire before he went to TNA because he WCW. But it's like, why are you doing it? Why not just like be a manager? There's no a great manager. Like, and if I was him, I've came in and went, look, I want to work with like the female wrestling. I work with a woman, try and manage a woman, give a woman a Sting rub instead of.
Well, the one thing that they messed up with was when Finlay was let go. AEW should have jumped on Finlay straight away, but obviously he's gone back now to WWE. But at the time, that's a massive thing that they missed out on. But you're right. I mean, I would have had Sting come in as an authority type figure because I think that's what they're missing. I think AEW needs someone overarch who's fully in control, who can make the matches, who can come out and do this. I think that's what Raw are struggling with at the moment. I don't think anyone is doing that either. And I don't know. I think they've got a lot to work on. It's a good brand. They've got a lot of good talents. I think they need to stop focusing on WWE guys and really, really put focus on long-term story. They'll get there, but I just don't think they'll ever break what WWE are doing.
Yeah, they're still young, but like they're still within that new period of a business. What is it, 10 years is still a brand new period for a business because you've not experienced the market for long enough.
Exactly.
And just to finish off, what is your prediction for the Royal Rumble? So I'm hopefully going to get this podcast up tonight because I need to get a partner to watch it and make sure I've not said anything that makes me look stupid. So what's your prediction?
You haven't, by the way.
If I know, that's all right.
You're all good.
So what do you think? Who do you think is going to win the women's and the men's?
Oh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think it's the first Rumble that I have a few picks. Usually I have one or two, which I can go, okay, you're kind of building towards them or you're building towards this person. I think the women's might be a little bit more clearer than the men's. I think Bianca Belair might come out with the win there. I think they're building her up as the next big thing on SmackDown. Very talented. She can go as far as she wants. And I think she fits very well into that Bayley, Sasha, Carmella type mold. I think she's someone who can come in who I think they wanted maybe Trin to be that way, but obviously I think the bring it to the glow thing is only good for the live crowd. I think once you take the live crowd out, who cares about you coming out and dancing? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think Bianca Belair for the women's. For the men's, I've heard some horrendous rumours. I've heard of Kane Velasquez might win it, and then he'll fight the Usos with Rey Mysterio and his little crew. I fucking hope that's not true. I would love to see AJ Styles win it, but I've got a feeling it might be Daniel Bryan. I think this might be his year. He'll go on and face Reigns at Mania. But again, you've still got... did you do the Elimination Chamber now? Was it Fastlane? It's one of the two, isn't it? Next.
I think they've changed it to No Mercy. They're bringing back No Mercy, aren't they? I'm sure they're bringing it back.
Well, whatever they've got next, I think, yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be Daniel Bryan, just because I think it's his last run. He's openly said that. I think it makes sense maybe to give him the title for 1 or 2 months, and then Reigns takes it off him again. I just don't know what they're going to do on Raw. I have no idea what direction they can go in there, because if Goldberg's going to win, isn't he? Let's be honest.
I really hope that I'll at you on Twitter and be like, he didn't win, thank God.
I hope so.
But for me, for the women's one, because I'm a mark, is Rhea Ripley. She's my favourite wrestler at the minute. I think she's just different. It'll make it look cool instead of from just that cookie cutter female, like, oh, there she goes, same exact same person, body type, same person. The Royal Rumble, I've got this poor weird idea drilled into my head, is so AJ and Daniel Bryan have been like, kind of doing like a wee, like talking to each other for a couple of months now, like just dropping seeds. I think it's going to be like a Bret Hart. Was it Bret Hart? Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger? No, Bret Hart, Lex Luger, but they both fell out at the exact same time. Batista, John Cena.
Yeah.
They fall out at the same time, which is harder to kind of get done. Then they'll either go on to face themselves at the kind of mid-term kind of pay-per-view between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That's what I would do to book some long-term story. But knowing WWE, Dominic Mysterio's going to win or something, King Corbin, somebody like that.
It's going to be hard though, isn't it? I mean, because the Royal Rumble, the crowd makes the Rumble. That's the whole point. They're obviously going to have pumped-in crowd going, turn! No one wants that. But it's going to be very interesting. I mean, there's rumours Jay White might make his debut tomorrow. Sorry, there's talk. Obviously, CM Punk might have had the money.
You've not seen SmackDown yet? Oh, you've not. No, I can't ruin it for you.
No, go on. It's all right.
So at the end of SmackDown, Braun Strowman comes out, and I was just like, "Why did you not keep that for the Rumble? He's terrible, but at least it would have been a surprise. Why did you do it at the end?"
So yeah, there's because obviously Brock hasn't renewed his contract. He's nowhere near renewing his contract. I think he's happy until Vince wants him back with crowds. So maybe Vince has threw money at Punk and just said, just have a 3-month contract or whatever. That'd be amazing. I mean, I think it would completely turn focus away from any other company onto WWE again. I'm not right back. I'm not CM Punk's biggest fan. I think obviously his run with Heyman was brilliant, but I think again once you took Heyman and obviously the pipe bomb and all that, but actual in match wrestling, I'm not as biggest fan. But I think if Vince was smart, you'd pay him the money. Just right now, you've just sold your network to Peacock. You've got $5 billion coming in. What's 15 million? Which will easily, if you throw merch on for 3-4 months, you're easily going to make that back. Easily. So yeah, if he was smart, you'd bring Punk back. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Be interesting.
The big rumour I'm hearing just now is Goldberg loses to Drew. Drew gets a win. Everybody's happy. Then Goldberg wins the Rumble. Is a rumour that I'm hearing going around, and I'm like, I'm not going to double book him because they can't. Vince must see people like, don't double book Goldberg, you know what I mean? Like,
yes. I don't know why. I know he's a draw. I get why you'd have him on the card, but having him in the main event scene is so stupid. So stupid.
It feels like the 2003 kind of time, like when it was like, oh, it's cool, it's Goldberg, but
he's not cool anymore. He's not.
No, he's not. He's just a old guy with just there.
He keeps nearly killing people. He's the Nia Jax of the male division.
I thought I was going to get through something without mentioning Nia Jax. She's my. yeah, my partner loves divas, and every time she comes on, I'm like, look at the state of her, man. Just always ruins everything. She's Eva Marie now. She's just Eva Marie now. So,
See what that
anyway, man,
chokes album thing.
thanks for being on the podcast. Is there anything you want to say before we finish it?
No, yes, I'll just give a big shout out to obviously my podcast at It's Our House Pod. We're on every single platform. You can follow me, FazzasThoughts. Then you've got Stuart S Lawson 1417 and Christie's for all things wrestling. But mate, it's been a pleasure, and I'd love to come on again if you'd have me anytime.
If you just hold on for 2 minutes, I'll end the recording and I'll finish things up. But all the links for podcasts, Twitter, everything will be in below. And I've got Chris coming on in a couple of weeks. I know he's got some things going on. And I've got Stuart coming on Tuesday as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to end the recording and I'll talk to you after that.
Yeah, no worries, mate.